The axe falls on a former Daytona 500 winner. Setzer sparkles in South Boston. And guess who didn't win a sportsman doubleheader in Pocono? That's all zooming your way next on Race Day. Hi, everybody. I'm Pat Patterson. We're back at our home base in Charlotte, but we're heading to Pocono International Raceway, where the Miller Genuine Draft 500 is just over an hour away, and the Hoosier folks go into the event with a big smile on their faces. That's because the first two rows are all on that brand. Jeff Bodine paced the proceedings Friday in a new event record speed. Ward Burton gets his first front row starting position. On row number 2, it's Greg Sachs in his highest starting spot of the year, and the same can be said for Jeff Burton, who starts 4th. Ernie Irvin leads the Goodyear boys from the 5th spot. Rusty Wallace goes off 10th in his event sponsors race, and new points leader Dale Earnhardt rolls off 20th. This week's provisional starters are Michael Waltrip, who's been qualifying well until here, and Jimmy Spencer, who crashed Friday and couldn't get his backup car up to speed. And thanks to some sharp viewers last Sunday evening who called to let us know that Slick 5300 winner Ricky Rudd drives a Ford, not a Chevy like we listed. We knew that. Just wanted to see if you were paying attention. Meanwhile, okay, in the news, several well-known drivers have either changed or will be changing car numbers for 1995. Mark Allen explains in our look at the latest news from the series.
It was not a very good 24 hours for Derek Cope beginning last Sunday. He spent much of the afternoon in New Hampshire aimed in the wrong direction. Then Monday, he got a pink slip from car owner Cale Yarborough, taking over the finger hut ride as Jeremy Mayfield, the 1993 ARCA Rookie of the Year, who's run a few Cup races this year. Cope is in T.W. Taylor's car for the next few races, the same ride Mayfield had. Cope has no plans to start his own team, despite some reports to the contrary. Speaking of plans, Brett Bodine is now planning his future beyond his current Quaker State ride. The middle of this past week, car owner Kenny Bernstein told the middle Bodine brother he would not drive for him in 1995. Bernstein confirmed to Race Day that he is talking with several candidates, including John Andretti and Ward Burton. And the bounty will be big for the Brickyard 400. According to NASCAR, the purse will be around $2.7 million and exceeds the Daytona 500 by a small margin. This is Mark Allen reporting for Race Day.
Thanks, Mark. Now that silly season's in high gear, the annual game of driver ping pong takes an added meaning when that new teams get cranked up. The Michael Cranopus Carl Haas Winston Cup team is in the midst of a driver search, and this past week we talked with one of the owners about these recent developments and how that may affect their decision.
I most certainly hope so, but it is something that you have very little influence over, so you got to wait. Finding the right driver specifically for our situation is definitely it's definitely a problem because there are very few top drivers available. If you go for a top sponsor, obviously you got to come up with a named driver, and that sometimes presents a problem. So we certainly hope something is going to shake loose, and you know, we're ending up with a driver that we want. I see a couple of very young drivers there that I would be happy to work with, but they may not be acceptable, so you'll have to see.
Michael and Carl and myself, we know what we're looking for. You know, just because some person becomes available that would fit in as a quick fix, we're not interested in. You know, we pretty much have the guidelines, and if those people come available, you know, we'll be looking at them. But, you know, a quick fix, we're not interested in.
And a sponsorship announcement is expected in a few weeks. Next on Motorsports Fastest Half Hour, we're off to Virginia for some action from yesterday's Grand National Race. Stay with us because we're just getting cranked up.
Race Day is brought to you in part by Mopar Chrysler Corporation Parts and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge Truck, Jeep and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. By Jiffy Lube. If it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it isn't. And by 104 Plus Octane Boost. Feel the power.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Last weekend, most of the Grand National boys had their feet up, enjoying a rare weekend off, but yesterday was back to work at South Boston, Virginia. Even before the race, there was some really good news for Tommy Houston, who finally landed Red Devil Enamel as his sponsor for the rest of the year. It was a lack of backing that broke the consecutive race streak of 300 earlier this season. Here's Jason Young with the race highlights.
With less than 20 laps on the board, the first caution flew for this heavy contact between Tim Fedewa and Dennis Setzer. Setzer continued while Fedewa called it a day. Ford Motor Credit was the sponsor for the 300-lap duel at South Boston. That company also carries their name full-time with Elton Sawyer, but a cut tire put him 2 laps down. The leader was David Green with Kenny Wallace right behind. After this spin by Chad Chafin, the top 2 spots were reversed. Nearing halfway, and caution number 8 was flying for this spin involving Randy LaJoie and the Phenolance machine and Tommy Houston. That allowed the leaders Wallace and Green to make a pit stop. The next battle for the top spot was between Wallace and points leader Ricky Craven. In this situation, Wallace got the worst of it while Craven continued as the leader. But his mirror was full of Setzer's number 59. A move to the outside, and Setzer was the new leader with around 50 laps remaining. In the final circuits, Robert Presley was right in the middle of the best battle on the track with Chad Little in the 23. Little was able to get the advantage. But up front it was all Dennis Setzer, who held off a charging Hermie Sadler for his first career Busch Grand National win.
These guys, they work good over the radio. Had a new, Terry Shook spotted for me today right there. He done a great job. Our owners, the Welches, are in Nebraska, so hello, Nebraska. This is for you. And also, who loves South Boston more than I do today?
Behind Setzer and Sadler, it was Johnny Benson, David Green, and Chad Little. I'm Jason Young, reporting for Race Day.
And congratulations to the track folks down there. They really did a good job of repaving that place. Way up north in Canada, to be precise, the Skull Super Dirt Series is competing in its annual swing. Paul Schmall has the latest.
The Skull Racing Super Dirt Series for Modifieds made a 3-day swing through Canada last Sunday through Tuesday. The first stop was the Cornwall Motor Speedway in southeastern Ontario, where Watertown, New York's barefoot Bob McCready in the 9 led until Alan Johnson's 14J passed him on lap 56. 7 laps later, Allen's car broke, and McCready was left to battle Jack Johnson in the red car number 1. McCready held him off for his 3rd Skull Racing Super Dirt Series win of '94. Rick Wilson took 3rd, followed by Doug Hoffman and Laurent Ladesseur. The following night, the series moved east of Montreal, Quebec for a 94-lapper at Autodrome Drummond. Chris Moore in the Pepsi car took the lead at the start, while Jeff Hetzler in the Duchess Overhead Doors 87 moved up from his 13th starting position. Hetzler took the lead from Moore on lap 27 and held it to the finish for his first Skull Racing Super Dirt Series win since September of 1993. Kenny Tremont was second, while Brett Hearn, Mike Romano, and Hughes Mercier rounded out the top 5. The Canadian swing concluded Tuesday at Autodrome Granby, where Brett Hearn's Auto Palace 72 diced with Martin Roy's 66 for the first 2/3 of the event. On lap 74, Hearn tried to pass a lap car but got a piece of the wall in turn 3 instead, and that left Jack Johnson to grab the lead from Roy on lap 78 and grab his first Skull Racing Super Dirt Series win of the year. Steve Payne and Alan Johnson split in for 2nd and 3rd, with Roy and Jeff Hetzler completing the top 5. This is Paul Small reporting for Race Day.
Wonder if he got his helmet back. You know, he threw it right in that guy's car. Wonder if he got his helmet back. Race fans up in Poconos should be just about raced out already. They've seen 4 races in the past 3 days. One of the doubleheaders was the makeup of the ARC and Sportsman shows from June at PIR, and then the Sportsman and ARCA cars were at it again Saturday.
Conditions were a lot different than they were the last time the ARCA division was at Pocono. The last time it was a rainy mess. This time it was green flag action with defending series champion Tim Steele up front leading the way. But the green didn't stay out very long. Laura Lane had trouble with turn 1 and caused a caution. Another yellow was needed when John Wilkinson found the going difficult in the same spot. Back up front end, Steele was still the man and took the checkers. Jeff Purvis, Bob Keselowski, Dick Trickle, and Bobby Bowser completed the top 5. On Saturday, Tim Steele was the pole sitter and jumped out front early in the H&S Dye number 16. On lap number 2, points contender Frank Kimmel brought out the first yellow when he went for a slide in turn 1. A push to the garage and Kimmel was done dead last. In the final laps, Jeff Purvis had a good lead over Steele, but then with 8 laps to go, Michael Wren caused the caution in turn 3, setting up a 5-lap shootout to the checkers. Back to green and immediately back to yellow because of a 3-car crash in turn 1. That meant the Associates Financial 150 would end under the caution, giving Jeff Purvis the victory. Dick Trickle was second, followed by Kerry Tigg, Bob Shack, and Bobby Bowser. The Sportsman show on Thursday was a great one, but it finished under caution, and it was Wally Fowler who took the checkers, but not the win. More on that in a moment. Then on Saturday, they took to the Pocono International Raceway for the 2nd time of the week. Pole sitter Marty Ward got a challenge on the first lap from Wally Fowler, Fowler made it work, and he took the spot. At the 1/3 mark, a scary incident down in turn 1. Russ Galindo slid up to the wall and then came right back in the path of Doug Bennett in the 86. Somehow, both drivers walked away okay. For the rest of the way, Fowler kept his machine out front. Marty Ward was second, followed by Jerry Rector, Mickey Hudspeth, and Mike Galt. But unfortunately, that's not the end of the story. In a post-race inspection, it was found that Fowler's engine had illegal alterations. That gave Jerry Rector the win on Thursday, and here's how the official top 5 looked from yesterday. Pollster Marty Ward was awarded the win. He was followed by Rector, Mickey Hudspeth, Mike Galt, and David Smith.
Gee, it paid to run second twice. Okay, let's explain that Fowler was DQ a little bit more because the two sportsman races were just 48 hours apart. NASCAR decided to do only one post-race inspection, that one coming on Saturday. Up next, it's not been a good year for Goodyear. We'll explain after this. And welcome back to Race Day, where unlike those other guys, we're always live. Today marks the start of the second half of the IndyCar season, and there are several driver items of note. Kenny Bernstein has confirmed to Race Day that his driver Scott Goodyear, who enjoyed success in past years with Walker Racing, will not be back in 1995. The Canadian exercised an option in his contract and told Kenny that he will not return for next year. Sponsor Budweiser is also leaving. Meanwhile, just about every publication imaginable has Michael Andretti returning to the Newman-Haas team. In '95, the second-generation Andretti won his only championship with that team and has been running for Chip Ganassi since his return from Formula One, and team spokesman had no comment on Andretti's return. Meanwhile, the elder Andretti is starting his 400th IndyCar race today. The venue is the streets of Toronto, and lo and behold, we have a front row without any Penske's. Robbie Gordon set fast time on Friday with Walker Motorsports, and it held up yesterday. For the youngster's first IndyCar pole, Nigel Mansell put his Newman-Haas mount on the other front row position. Row 2 gets back to normal with points leader Al Unser Jr. on the inside and Emerson Fittipaldi starting 4th. On a less happy note, rookie Brian Herta crashed yesterday and suffered a broken right leg and compression fractures of his pelvis. He underwent 4 hours of surgery last night and is in serious but stable condition. He's having further x-rays taken at this hour. We wish him Godspeed in getting ready. Getting back to good health again, the Foyt Racing team did not run a second-round qualifying and has withdrawn from the event. The return, by the way, of Hoosier tires to Winston Cup racing has been a hot topic all season, and next year the same type of stories are likely in IndyCar, but Goodyear won't be fighting against a small Indiana wannabe, but a giant old veteran making a comeback.
It's an understatement to say that tires are an important part of racing. With the right tires in a certain situation, you can win a race, but with the wrong tires in the same situation, you can lose one. In recent years, the Winston Cup circuit has seen Hoosier come in and challenge Goodyear. Ask any of the drivers, and competition can make you better. Next year, IndyCar teams will have a tire choice, but it won't be Hoosier, it will be Firestone.
We'll make the tires available to anybody and everybody who wants to run the tire. We do believe this is an exercise which will prove out in technology. Whichever company can come up technology-wise with the best tire, most of the teams are going to want to run. So absolutely, we'll make as many tires as people want to use.
Back in February, Firestone started their comeback into IndyCar racing with a testing session in Phoenix, and the driver who hopes to make its competitive debut next year is excited about what he's seen so far.
I've been quite pleased. Actually, they were more of a surprise than what I thought. We got out here, started running, put in about 40 laps this morning, and the speed just was coming right down. So from my standpoint, I've been real pleased, real excited.
In 1974, Firestone pulled out of IndyCar racing. Recently, they've been involved with the Indy Lights series, but the real goal was to get back into the full-fledged series. Pat Patrick Racing was chosen to field a team to test and race the tire, and so far Patrick likes what he sees and looks forward to running a tire he thinks will give him an edge.
We expect to have a very intense testing program because the tire must be competitive. and we hope we have a little edge. Like, seemed like Hoosier has a little edge in Oliver, Goodyear, and Daytona, so we hope to have that edge maybe at Indianapolis.
No test information has been made public yet, but by the smiles at the session so far, it looks like they're back on the right track. This is Mark Allen reporting for Race Day.
Thanks, Mark, and that one's going to be very, very interesting to watch. What's up next? Stick around and find out as Race Day hopscotches across the continent. Don't go away.
Race Day is brought to you in part by Mopar Chrysler Corporation Parts and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge Truck, Jeep and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. And by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers.
Welcome back live to the program, everybody. AMA Superbike riders will race the beautiful Mid-Ohio Road Course this afternoon, and the man they'll all be chasing is Colin Edwards. He'll be joined in the front row by Pascal Picotte, Jamie James, and Miguel Duhamel. The Silver State, the Golden State, Keystone State are all stars of late action from last weekend. Here's Stephanie Boyd with this week's Mopar Performance Report.
Round number 7 of the Golden State Challenge Series saw number 14 Tim Green dominate the early going. Series contender Steve Kent had some bad luck when Lee Brewer Jr. got into him, knocking the number 11 on its side. Meanwhile, number 24 Charlie Miller was charging his way to the front and got into a heated battle with Brent Cady for second. But that's as far as either driver would go, since Green was unbeatable on his way to the checkers. Miller got second ahead of Cady. They were followed by Greg DeCaris and Ronnie Day. The last lap of the World of Outlaws preliminary feature at Red River Valley Speedway was the best one. Steve Kinser had been dominating and was heading for the checkers when Dave Blaney came out of nowhere and blasted by for the win. So the following afternoon in the A feature, Kinser was out to avenge his loss and took the early lead. Sammy Swindell's good run turned to bad, first when he got sent to the back of the pack for knocking over a cone on a restart, then when he ran into Greg Hodnett after Hodnett got into a loose Kenny Jacobs. Meanwhile, up front, Kinser was on a mission, and he didn't let anyone get by in his race to the checkers. This time, Blaney was second, followed by Jeff Swindell, Jack Hodenshield, and Mark Kinser. In the Grand Olds Gang 200 at Jennerstown Speedway, $20,000 was up for grabs to the driver who got to the checkers first. Among the candidates were ASA standouts Butch Miller and Gary St. Amant. But in the end, it was the Iceman, Tim Ice, who outlasted the competition and led the final 80 circuits on his way to a hefty payday. Glenn Gott was second, and Charlie Cragen came in third. Fred Campbell and Dennis Berry rounded out the top 5. And finally, at the second annual Las Vegas 100, a case for genetics in racing. 21-year-old Chris Trickle took the lead from defending race champion Mike Ray on lap 38. And just like his famous Uncle Dick would do, the younger Trickle charged ahead and never looked back on his way to claiming the win. Donnie Williams was second, and Jim Wolfenstein was third. This is Stephanie Boyd reporting for Race Day.
Thanks, Steph. In this morning's Race Watch, the final practice session yesterday for today's Miller 500 at Pocono went off without a hitch, and that's always good to hear. But before you call Las Vegas and bet the house on pole sitter Jeff Bodine winning, you better know that this track, more than about any other on the circuit, has not been kind to the man starting on the pole. For his part, Bodine says the Hoosier tire for this race is 1,000% better than the one at Pocono last month. It should be a good one. And don't worry, all you ASA fans, plenty of highlights coming your way tonight. That's it for now, but tonight on the show we'll have a veritable avalanche of highlights from all over the land, and that's no snow job. Did I say that? That's tonight at 8:30. All that plus plenty of other stuff. Grand National driver Tim Fita will be here. It's just going to be a great show. We hope you'll be here. Until then, I'm Pat Patterson. See ya.
Transportation provided by Cedar Ridge RV Center of Branchville, New Jersey. Call 1-800-988-4884 and find out why Cedar Ridge is the choice of champions. Communications provided by Racing Electronics, the official communications of Race Day. For a free catalog, call 1-800-272-7111. And by Featherlight Trailers, the official trailer of NASCAR and major sponsor of the NHRA. Remember to call Featherlight for all your trailer needs at 1-800-800-1230.